Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Press Enterprise High School Football Video Podcast. I am sports editor Tim Hare, and with me this week is writer Adam Roberts. We're going to talk about some Southern Columbia football here.
Some Tiger football, yeah, absolutely.
So first, let's talk about last week. You know, Southern in the quarterfinals beat a pretty good Berks Catholic team, 34-21. From having seen Southern in that game, what were your takeaways?
Well, everybody knew that Southern's a team that they can move the ball, beat you up front. That took a little bit longer to happen in the Berks Catholic game. Credit to Berks Catholic for that. I mean, they played a good game. I just felt like the firepower just wasn't there, and part of that I think could have been because they were tight. Seemed like that's was the general feeling.
Yeah, and Jim Roth even said I feel like there was just. He said this senior class, all they've known is losing in states. People think of Southern as a traditional power, but those were different players, different years. This group knew about the loss to Dunmore, lost to Old Forge, lost to Montoursville, and yeah, they kind of looked a step slow a little bit to start, just maybe scared to make a mistake.
And it could have cost them too. They had two fumbles there that they lost, one by Marks, and the other one the Berks Catholic wasn't able to score off of. But it could have been they could have been up for a repeat, a first round playoff loss, and those kids have been desperately seeking that first win for a long time, having gone 10-0 in the regular season. It was almost like they were always looking to the postseason, even though that they still had a 10-game schedule to play.
And I think it's a credit to Southern that, you mentioned it's 28-21. Berks Catholic has the ball inside Southern's 30, and a team that maybe is a little less just not mentally strong enough to handle that might have just said, oh, we know how this script goes. We're supposed to win and we're going to lose this game because of a mistake. And instead the defensive line stepped up, made a big stop on 3rd and inches, a big stop on 4th and inches, and then 2 plays later, Hunter Thomas ices the game.
Yeah, the defensive linemen, that's a group of guys that like playing together. Yes. And you could tell that they have a lot of fun. Even when they're on the sidelines, the way they talk to each other and the way that they kind of get together. And, digressing a little bit, a lot of that I think goes back to what Jim Roth can do and how good of a coach he is. To know what type of team he has and to be able to know what to say to them and know what to do to rally this team and get the pieces in the right place to prevent a score.
Sure.
And also keep the momentum from being sucked out any further from the sideline.
And we'd said this before we started filming, but Jim Roth's been doing this 32 years as a head coach. Andy Mills has been there the entire time as a defensive guy. There's not much they haven't seen, and they're just so quick at making adjustments. And just they come in so prepared with knowing that if this happens, we do this, we do this. They just know how to just counterpunch.
The coaches, no doubt, the coaches know what to do, and the players know their role too. And I think having that combination, it really helps the dynamics, and the players know when they have to make a play. They know the key moments.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard when you're out there in the field. You kind of can get lost into having played out there. You know the score, but the way that everything is going on around you, it seems like everybody knows their role. And that could also be the fact that not all those guys play both ways. They get to, come on the sideline, get some water, take a break. And I think that could also help it too. And that could be a big factor in coming into this week's game.
Yeah, let's talk a little about West Catholic here. You talk about going both ways. Southern, and it's, a traditional strength for them. Really, when you look at guys who are going both ways, Young does, but he kind of platoons at receiver, and starts at corner. Tozaleski kind of, because they share that receiver spot, right. And then he's at safety. Marks plays at linebacker, and then other than that, it's really just Gabe Delbo, who's the tackle and the defensive end.
There's no secret, and I'm pretty sure every high school football coach will tell you, and any coach period, the game's won between the tackles.
Yeah.
Games won up front, and that is the biggest part, I think, to their success. Having the fresh body come out there and being able to move the football on the defense, as opposed to getting beat up on the defensive side, when the other team comes out.
Right, and we made the point when we were looking at West Catholic's probable starters that from guard to guard up front,
they're big.
They're big, but that's three guys who are going both ways.
Yeah, and that's something that I think that Southern's going to have to capitalize on, is the fact that these guys are going to be playing both ways. They're going to get tired, but they need to keep the momentum of this game. This is a game where they cannot let the momentum get away from them. West Catholic has some speed on the outside. I mean, these guys, looking at the numbers from last week, Bryson, their number 2, only had one catch last week, and their number 1, their number 3 receiver had 2 catches. So their number 1 receiver was shut out. But I still think that they have the speed, though, that if you let them in the ball game, they might beat you deep. And I'm curious to see what Kozlowski's role is going to be this week, given the fact that Berks Catholic ran the ball a lot, and this team's going to be is more of a dominant passer.
Yeah, I wonder if in the past when Southern would face a Steel High, a Pius X, a Camp Hill, because they're traditionally a 4-4, but what they would do is just take one of those linebackers and drop them back, or put in a second safety and essentially play 4-3. And I do wonder, with Blake Marks having that experience of playing in the secondary, if they kind of have him back at safety a little bit to just have that extra security blanket against the pass.
Well, he's a good tackler, so they're definitely going to lose that. And given the fact that he's a good tackler, and looking at some of the numbers from last week, and West Catholic's lost to Dunmore, they ran the ball a lot. So it's going to be a real fine line of what they can, the give and take and the compromise that they're going to have to run on defense. Another thing that I'm looking at West Catholic, watching some film a little bit before this, is their line is big.
Yeah.
The only 2 guys who don't go both ways, we talked about the interior, they go both ways, are the tackles. But they range from 235 all the way up to 330 pounds. So that's a big group of guys. Their tackles, Taylor and Hill, they're at 6'2", 240, and 6'3", 250. And in between, you got 6'4", 265, 6'1", 235, and a guy who's 6'2", 330. So they're no slouches.
Sure.
They're going to be able to move the ball too. But I'm kind of curious to see how they can do in the pass protection. I mean, that's given the fact that they pass the ball so much, you'd think that maybe that's what they're going to excel at. But Southern, traditionally, when they've excelled on defenses, they've been able to get a pass rush, dial up the blitz, and be able to get pressure on the quarterback zone.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see the matchup that I think is really going to go a big way to deciding things is Southern's defensive ends. Mm-hmm. How much pressure Southern can generate with just the front 4. If they don't have to, because Southern, they love the blitz. Right. But if they don't have to use the blitz, if they can even just get in the quarterback's face with
a 4-man,
Grosh and Freeman and Delbo and kill it.
That's going to have a big role. But talking about defensive ends, West Catholic has one, and Tamir Oliver, Rutgers recruit. Yeah. So Southern's definitely talented on the defensive end, but I can't say enough about you can't overlook this line. They're not slouches up there. They're going to be able to get pressure too, and it's going to be big deal to see who can dominate the game early, can kind of take the ball and move it first, and I think that's going to be kind of who ends up on top on the scoreboard.
Yeah. Who do you think wins this game?
Looking at so many people playing both ways, and the fact that Southern does not, I got to give the edge there to Southern. But if they leave this game up for grabs, it's going to be a tough one. A turnover here or there, that's what it's going to come down to, and it almost cost them last week. So they're going to have to play a pretty complete game to win this, which isn't out of the question either. It's not out of reach.
For me, just looking at how Dunmore was able to run the ball, 260 yards last week, about 5 a carry. We saw Dunmore because they played Northwest twice, and no disrespect to Dunmore, I just feel like Southern's a better team than Dunmore.
Absolutely,
particularly in the running game. I think that's an encouraging sign that Southern will be able to move the ball on the ground, and that really leads me to think that I think it's a shootout. I think it's something in the neighborhood of like a 42-35 or a 42-28, something like that. But I think Southern's going to Hershey.
I know, talking to a lot of those guys that have played football over there, that they got their gold Hershey Kisses ready for this week. So I know they can't wait to throw them. But yeah, looking at how well Dunmore ran the ball, you got to think that Southern's going to be able to run the ball just as well.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious to see the adjustments that West Catholic's going to make on the defensive front. We talked about them running a three-man front. Looking at some film, it looks like they put the outside backers up, and then they take another guy and they move him somewhere in the interior to kind of...
So they use the 3-4 almost like a 5-2 with the two stand-up...
Yeah,
the linebackers walk up almost like stand-up ends in a 5-2.
They run it to a strength because I've also seen them run the three-man front with the up backers, and then also bring another backer, and he'll put his hand down on the line. So you could see a four-man front with two outside backers too. So they kind of run like a hybrid set. I'm curious though if that's going to be enough to be able to stop, Southern's running game, which is definitely what they're going to do this week. Kozlowski had a role in the passing game, but I think it's going to be all on the ground this week. I don't think you're going to.
Yeah, I don't think you want to tempt. Their secondary seems to be pretty strong. A lot of speed back there. I don't think you want to tempt fate by throwing like 17 times like they did last week.
Yeah, I know. We talked a little bit about Blake's fumble, and I think he had a rough game last week, and I think that's all part of that. The guys that have been tense, they've lost so many times in the first round. He might rebound with a pretty big game. I know he had a good game against Selinsgrove too. So where he may not have been as big of a factor in the offense last week, things might start to open up for him this week.
Yeah. What do you want for Christmas?
What do I want for Christmas?
Yeah.
Along with $1 million and maybe a nice car, but
you got into the wrong business if you want $1 million.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Hopefully good grades. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah, being a part-time student.
What a responsible answer.
Yeah, hopefully, maybe I'll just get coal instead. But
the very responsible Adam Roberts.
Yeah, hopefully the dean's listening.
Well, that's all we've got for this week. But me and Adam are going to be covering the game down in northern Lehigh on Saturday afternoon, so please check out pressenterpriseonline.com. We're working on a lot of preview stuff. We'll be tweeting from the game, and then we'll have all the analysis, game stories, stats from Southern Columbia West Catholic. And if Southern wins, we will be back for another podcast to talk about a state championship matchup. So looking forward to that. So for Adam Roberts, I am Press Enterprise Sports Editor Tim Hare, and we will see you later.